Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm bringing you some more Cause Monarchy, and we do have a Zerg Mirror matchup best of 5 today to take a look at. It's going to be Grass Eater versus Kenoli in what should be an interesting little ZvZ. Well, I'm not sure it'll be an epic, like in the way that you would see like Homer or the Odyssey or whatever, but, you know, there's some cool ideas at play here, and I do just want to shout out our homies who are playing, who are attempting to qualify for the Battlement stage. It's our last chance now. I'm recording this on Saturday, the 6th of June, where we had our final moments to sign up for the qualifier, the final qualifier that is Gauntlet Stage B. So if you're late to the party, well, you know, commiserations, but I look forward to seeing everybody who does show up, and maybe you're brand new to Cause Monarchy and you don't even know all the unit names yet. I mean, I understand, sometimes that happens, but definitely something to think about. What are we going to see as this goes on? Well, I can tell you right now that Grass Eater just failed a little trick that you can do to try to get 4 larvae going and then have a whole bunch of quas. And so he did want to do a bit of a tricky, like a 6 pool into 4 pairs of quas and move across the map. And this is going to be countered by Kenoli just making a pair of 2 pairs of broodlings, the Rillarocors there, that you can make from eggs. They don't have any resource cost, but they obviously take larvae and a little bit of time. And he is going to go ahead and make a circuit. This should be pretty bulletproof, although obviously the quads can kind of walk around and try to heckle the worker line. But by the time they even get across the map, I think the pool will be done, and you can start to see some counter quads. This is a more committed economic build here for Grass Eater, but that's all right. That's all right. And if you are brand spanking new to Cause Monarchy, well, you can definitely check out some of the tutorial content. We have Sovereign Saga, remake of the original campaigns in development, and the first 2 missions are available if you want to really get to grips with what you're actually going to be looking at for a new toolkit. And of course, you can also check out the ZvZ match. I mean, at the very least, it's ZvZ. It's you know, you're only going to be looking at 1 set of units, 1 race's worth of units. This isn't Faction Wars or anything. You don't have to remember too much. Now, true and through, the Rillarocors is kind of what we expected if they were trying to fight head-on, but they've already thinned the herd enough that the Quaz follow-up from Kenoli should be able to clean house here. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. A whole bunch of Drollets being made now, and I would hazard a guess that Grass Eater is going to try to be a bit greedy, a bit cheeky, and see if Kenoli doesn't move across the map. But it looks like that's what's happening as gas starts to get mined again. Kenoli actually doubling back for a moment there. I'm not quite sure what that was about. Maybe just second-guessing himself, maybe just a misclick. But some quads have been made. Grass Eater is now falling behind on workers. You know, you either choose in this situation, raw dog it and only get yourself a whole bunch of workers and just hope that your opponent doesn't come across the map. Or this is the more safer, conservative play, but it will require some interesting angles here from Sir Grass Eater, if he wants to come back into this particular map. Corrosion is definitely a fairly standard map. It does have those little outposts you can get to if you so desire. But I don't think those will come into play anytime soon for Zerg. The player who has more map control might be able to do it, but in this particular case, Grass Eater actually pushing these quads back there in a bold stance with the Zeths, and now they're in the base, so Kenoli can still challenge. Every time the quads attack something, they start moving a little bit faster, so very good at escaping from things like Zethrakors. But we'll see how it ends up taking shape over time. I'm pretty sure here that the quads are going to have their work cut out for them, and there's a lot of them. Grass Eater has gotten back into some form of competitive economy, and in fact now has a worker edge. But the Zorkia Shroud is coming already for Kenoli. It looks like maybe Grass Eater is saving up for both an expansion and a Shroud, judging by his Vespene. Yeah, he puts his own Shroud down. His expansion will be something he has over his opponent, but the second Larva's coming up for Kenoli. We already had that for Grass Eater. So yeah, it actually looks like they've played themselves in such a position that means that they don't actually have that many differences between them. The Shroud timing is faster for Kenoli. The expansion timing much faster for Grass Eater. So we'll see how that continues to take shape. We do have another move out here. Delayed Zeth catches a couple of quads moving across. Grass Eater decides, okay, I'm just going to keep my quads at the ready to try to defend my hatch. You know, quads don't do very well versus armor, and there's 3 armor on this. They ignore only 1 with their 1 armor pen, so they are double reduced. It's bad. You're talking about like 1 damage per attack, basically, or 2 damage per attack because they attack twice. But each attack only dealing 1. So, not the best. Not ideal. You definitely want the Zethicores, the Zergling equivalents, if you're trying to break into there. And 5 Zoryus, 6 Zoryus, in fact. Wow. I am surprised so many of them are being made. I guess Kenoli just wants to crack open this pool-heavy comp that Grass Eater is taking. In theory, the Zoryus will stay alive long enough to even take down the Lakes that are being made by Grass Eater, but that's a little bit more... There's, like, levels to that play. We're not entirely sure if that's actually going to be what happens here. 14 workers on minerals. We've talked about this a little bit in our recent casts here, but just so you guys know, your worker saturation is 2 times the number of resource nodes you have, and the third worker is half as efficient. So you can add a third worker per node if you're trying to be maximally efficient, and you typically want to do that for Vespene at some early point in the game. Hey, this is kind of a cute move here. The Rillirokor's hovering around the Zoryus, and the Zoryus will perpetuate their timed life. They decay off of the K-grip. And Avaleth has gone past. I don't think this is going to force a pullback here from Kenoli, but it is empty. If it had drops, that would be a little bit different. He'd probably just defend it with units out of the larva and eat the losses. His army's all the way across the map now anyway. Being shooed away by a couple of quads. This attack is going to come as a bit of a surprise. The Lakes are here. You can reveal burrowed units by standing on them in Cosmonarchy, so that's another little aspect there. And Zoryus kind of coming in a line. We're going to keep them selected to see how well they're doing at sustaining damage. Remember, there's no armor penetration here for Grass Eater's composition, and it does look like the Pumpkin Zerg of Kenoli is overwhelming. The Drolets are trying to be pulled. The Zoryus of Grass's own is trying to keep his own Lakes alive, but it pops, and that might be the last of the defense here. Drolets trying to fight back. It's definitely a bit of a noodle fight, a wet noodle fight. It's not working out as well as Grass would have hoped, and now things are starting to turn. The Lake is getting pounced upon here by this army. The Rillirokor's that were brought from downtown, some of them still might have been alive for a lot of that. You can see he's even trying to burrow micro away, but he can't focus down the enemy quads, which are actually what's killing his Lakes. And now I don't know how he's going to defeat those poor Zoryus with only his own quads, but he's got some of his own coming out. Okay, big tanks. Some say they are still fighting to this day. Target selection hasn't been great for Grass Eater. He is actually losing a lot of opportunity. If these Zoryus get out, that's criminal, and they probably will because Kenoli is that low APM god. But yeah, there's a decent number of worker kills. Obviously, a big deal there that ended up happening was that they did eventually evacuate. There is an Escagant for the ridge cap in both bases. So Hydrathin coming. Okay, that's what he wants to sort of pivot towards. And now we've got a fully upgraded pool coming. That's going to be not just the pond, but the lake. And once you hit that tech, you can upgrade your quals into something that packs a bit more of a punch. Bounce attack on the Lyrilisc, plus a little bit of armor penetration there. So pretty good. Pretty good unit there, even faster. And pretty deadly in that respect. So I do want to see it in action. I do want to see it happen. Some Zets have been made as well, on both sides. By the way, I believe Grass Eater by this color is Tyrian purple. Oh, it was Palatinate purple. Look at that. And of course, Pumpkin is Kenoli. So check it out. Color guess at 8 minutes, 18 seconds. But yeah, just forgot earlier. I was talking about so many other things. Kenoli has 2,000 minerals. That's a classic move. Classic Kenoli. With 2,000 minerals, just still finding a way to stomp through the enemy units, and he's going to fall back with almost nothing here. 22 pairs of Lyras, that's what he was saving up. Not pairs, but individuals. You mutate them from the quads now that the pond is done. All those Zets just hatched. They barely cost anything. 25 minerals for a pair instead of 50 for Zerglings, so keep that in mind as well. Pool units are dirt cheap. That's to encourage you to spam them out and spam them all over the place. Looks like some quads are going to get sent into the Avaleth, which is really funny. It's only Lyriliscs at the front. I don't think this is going to be a very hopeful fight here for Grass Eater. He is trying to come out on the map. And it's weird. He had more resources in theory. He even catches the drop a little bit, but there's so many Lyra. He is going to need to fall back and make way more Lakes. Some Zoryus came out. They might be able to help out a little bit, but remember, we were talking about that armor pen. It's 12 damage up front anyway. Two different attacks, just like everything else for the claws, but it's definitely a lot more damage than the Zoryus can take by default. And then you got the Rillirokor's on Kenoli's side, obviously rending armor as well. So one of the Lakes goes down immediately. GG has to be called. I actually don't know where that Avaleth went. It looks like maybe it just retreated or died. But either way, Kenoli will take that first game with plenty of money in the bank. And that means that we move on to map number 2, which I can share with you right now beforehand is Macroglia. Stay tuned. We are on to Macroglia as promised, and Grass Eater is a very fitting color. It appears he is vine green. In the bottom left of this map by Biddy B. Corrosion, also a map by Biddy B, by the way. Of course, our Pumpkin Zerg of Kenoli is in the top right. He enjoys being Pumpkin. And it doesn't look like he's going to do anything particularly cheesy, although he is sending a pretty fast Droleth Scout. 7 Scout is not something I've actually observed from him before, but it doesn't mean I haven't actually watched a game where he's done it. It just means I haven't clocked it. I wanted to talk a little bit about the styles that these two players play. I know that's probably something a more aware caster who wasn't just distracted by silly things to start about in the beginning would have probably already commented on in the game 1, but there was a 6 pool going on, so it was a little bit hard for me to start talking about styles. I do want to point out, though, that with both of these players pooling at the same time here, this is a situation where it feels like we're going to see a bit more of a standard game out of both of them. Grass Eater is a bit more aggressive and a little bit, I guess, maybe worse strategically in terms of like the tactical choices that are made about army movement times. You know, Grass Eater still has to get more experience there to develop that part of his game, if I can be a little bit critical, but in a constructive manner. Kenoli, on the other hand, his mechanics, his APM, they aren't necessarily up to par with some of our top players, but Kenoli's been in and out of the top 20 players of Cause Monarchy for some time now. And depending on his form, I actually haven't been keeping up with his latest practice with players like Kutiam and Grass and a few others as well. I think Kasuga, who sadly will not be participating in the Battlement stage, by the way. Kasuga, our hero, he was too busy to actually qualify. Sad times. But yeah, the main idea that I have looking at these two players stylistically, they're both fond of Zerg versus Zerg. Kenoli is a weirdly proficient ZvZ merchant. He almost beat Hit 'em Up ZvZ in his Acropolis debut back in Acropolis 2's Battlement stage, and he was in the group with Gerald Storm, who also hasn't been participating for a little bit, busy with his own life and such. Same for Top Ramen, who sadly has not been able to take his time away from his own personal stuff to qualify and participate, but I know he'll be there watching, and big shout out to him. He's contributed quite a bit to the project. The main thing that I think about with how that pertains in Gerald Storm is a guy who was a higher skilled Zerg, in terms of all the other matchups, but Kenoli still had his number in the sort of best of 3 they had to play when Hit 'em Up 4-0'd his group, and Kenoli was able to take the games. And so it did feel weird to see Kenoli find success in that respect, but he is just inimitable. It's really hard to count him out, even though he has 40 APM right now as I speak, but that's all right. That just happens sometimes. If I had to rate the build orders, by the way, I actually think Grass Eater comes out ahead. He's a little bit ahead in terms of workers, but his Shroud timing is very nice. His second Larvosk was up much faster. His first Larvosk was up much faster. So these are all pretty good things, but Kenoli has some things going for him. He is expanding, and he's got a little bit of map control on his side. The Parazets that Grass Eater likes to send out for scouting have given some good information about when that hatch has actually been put down. And Grass Eater knows that he's going to have an opportunity, a window here, to have an attack timing that works out pretty nicely. He has, obviously the same amount of larvae as his opponent for now. That will change when this hatch finishes, but he's going to have better tech. He's going to have the Shroud up in a context where Kenoli does not. And that's the situation that, we saw that both players had a Shroud, but Kenoli had more Zor use. Well, now imagine there's no opportunity to even get the Zor use because Kenoli is going to be lacking that Shroud. Instead, he went for that hatch and a lot of pool units besides. He's actually kept a very low Droleth count. So the Zets are going to come in, scout, okay, pretty big number of Quas, and he's been dancing around, being chased around a bunch of Quas anyway. One lake begins. All of the praise that I've given Grass Eater's build here doesn't quite work out to being safe from this pool attack, because Kenoli's actually gone for something much more aggressive than he typically goes for. He's setting up outside the ramp or outside the cliff there, and now he's going to try to make a dive here. And if this had been an expansion build, it would have been caught immediately. I don't think Grass Eater would have been able to hold against this. He had a little bit of cliff advantage there. His first lake is about to pop. He's got 4 more pairs of Quas coming. If we take a look at the number of, oh dear lord, there's so many, 26 Quas. Well, he's going to have to stand on top of this lake and maybe even pull workers to make sure that it can still deal damage. Those Quas do hatch from the mineral line, coming out in big ways. We have an egg that might just get popped in the crib. We do have a Zor use out, but it's only 1. And it feels like you need way more than that. And Kenoli recognizes the level of strength that he's got, and he dives right onto that lake is after and pops it. GG! A crazy fast game there from Kenoli. Not at all the style we were expecting from him. And again, the ZvZ instinct, the feeling that I know when my opponent is up against it, I know how to find an opportunity. That's something that Kenoli seems to have in just ways that are bizarre and strange. And for the rest of his game, you don't rate his versus Terran or his versus Protoss quite as highly. Not to say that he can't also do some damage there, but that was a really tight game. That was an impressive strategic decision. And it felt like Grass Eater did a really good build otherwise, but it was 9 Droleth, just make the hatch to fake out that I'm going macro, and then move across the map with a huge number of pool units, crush before you can get to any good tech, and the only way that you could have really equalized is with some static defense, which you probably didn't put in the right spot anyway, even if you did do it. So good play there, and we're going on to Tesseract for Game 3. Indeed, on to Tesseract, we have the right side of the map populated. It's a 4-spawn map, a port of Luna, and it does look like Grass Eater might be thinking about a 6-pool here. He 6-pooled before. We'll see if he wants to dial in his worker trick there, his larva trick. Could have maybe had one more mineral return, but otherwise not too shabby. And Kenoli will be scouting ahead, and he is scouting the wrong direction. It's likely a box scout, so he will scout his opponent last. Fortuitous for Grass Eater's 6-pool. So we'll obviously see how that one goes. This is, of course, Pumpkin, Kenoli in the top right. Grass Eater appears to be Cordovan. Cordovan, Zerg in the bottom right. I do want to shout out real quick. This is just it's a little aside, but if you're watching this video and you're thinking to yourself, hey, it was kind of cool or kind of not cool, that Pronago took like an extra minute to just blather about Game 2 at the end there, almost as long as the game itself. The jokes really write themselves for that kind of thing. Let me know in the comments. Like, comment below. You like that little bit of analysis at the end of each game, or do you feel like maybe it's a case-by-case basis? I'm curious to what you guys think, because sometimes I'm like, that was really interesting. I got to tell you guys why. And then other times I'm like, well, I mean, are you just here for the games, or were you trying to podcast, you know? So I go back and forth on that, but tell me what you guys think, because that's something I am excited to share with you if it is desired. Always looking for ways to make things a little bit better, at the very least, day by day, for this kind of coverage. Obviously, one of those ways would be to do some pretty nice moves on the streaming front, to try to stream these a little bit more often, but still record them in a higher quality than you usually get from the streams. Speaking of quality, though, this is a quality 6-pool. There is a Circuit coming, but you can run past that with Zets. All of his Zets ended up moving in the wrong direction. The first one comes in, and a Hydroth Den starts. This is a pool into Circuit for a Hydroth Den. Zeth is going to need to sort of dive back and forth. If you can get all 6 of them over here, it can be pretty dire. Well, he does need to be careful, though. I don't think he's actually going to be able to get all 6, but he can get most of them in. He's going to just target down the Larvos despite the Circuit, and that is a solid play. He can't look for just straight-up victory here, but he does have 3 Zets, and he can pick a couple of Droleth if Kenoli isn't careful. He's right in the mineral line, though. This is a little bit risky. A huge round of Rilla Rokors is kind of big. Unfortunately, that one Zeth not quite able to get in to join the pack. Maybe a little bit too excited. Droleth from the Scout returns home. Still a worker lead for Kenoli, and his den is coming. Could it be that the 6-pool gets all this damage and kind of sets his opponent back, but then not quite able to make anything else happen? I don't really know. The den will finish. I wonder if you could almost attack that from off of the Kagra so that the Rilla Rokors had to, jump off in order to do anything for you. Because if their timed life will start to go down when they're off of the creep, the Kagra as we call it here in Cosmonarchy. We've changed a lot of names. You'll get used to it. You'll watch enough, you'll get used to it. In fact, some of them get so used to, people get so used to them that they start calling it like that in when they're actually watching Starcraft 1. Also, we had a guy join our Discord server recently. By the way, we do have Discord and Fluxer servers. You should definitely pop into those if you feel like joining our community, talking some smack about the game. Nice pick on that Droleth. Now, Grass Eater's keeping these Zets alive for a very long time. It's really good for the scouting. But I do want to point out that, maybe back at home he also might be missing stuff. I don't know that. I actually haven't been paying attention to that. I've been following the action. But his own Circuit for the anti-surface defense. And a bunch of quads just get made. Okay, all right, interesting. He's got a decent amount of gas in the bank. I wonder if that's for a Shroud or for a pool upgrade. Okay, there it is. The Vornath Pond on the way. I guess, actually, yeah, Nathracors could be pretty nasty for attacking. You can burrow to avoid them, but it's still a pretty big shutdown there if he's only going for the Iziracors. And if you get enough of them, Kenoli's favorite is to make like 26 pairs of Nathracors and then just kill Larvosks and Hatches. So I'm not entirely sure. It could just be for Vorvs, and that would be fine too. Vorvs run the armor of the Iziracor, slow its attack rate, then you're able to pick him with quads pretty easily. It's pretty nice, actually. And a lot of Zets were made. That kind of points towards the Vorv idea. But he doesn't have that many minerals to spend on them just yet. The Rokors could cause some problems as well, because when they die, they shred armor and reduce attack speed as well. Kind of like the Vorv does, but in a bit of a different way. Vorv slows movement speed as well. It's ensnare, basically, from the Queen, but it applies it on hit. So It's movement, attack speed, and it is armor shred on top of it. So we don't end up getting any Vorbs. Grass Eater went for the upgrade and then didn't bother using it. So yeah, these Zets are not going to have a good time against those Izira cores. Not a single one of them going down, and a lot of them are softened up. Maybe you can at least pick these really rogue cores. That actually is an asset for the defense, but Grass Eater doesn't think about it. Hatch at the natural, and it looks like instead of bothering to continue attacking, he's going to say like, oh yeah, I need the Calcure Lake. Okay. I would really love for him to go like one gas, a couple of Calculusks, and just shut down the mineral line. You can actually, the Calculus has a line trace projectile, and when it attacks, it will damage burrowed units as well. So you can't even burrow to defend it in the same way. You just like paintbrush the hatch from here. Say like these lines burrow, you put the Calc here, you attack the hatch. Pretty good. And we do have some pairs of Nats being made. So maybe that's exactly what Grass Eater is thinking. Because I think you can afford that on one gas. You probably don't want to do too many Lyra, but you could also do that. And by one gas, I mean like one base is worth of gas, obviously. He's got 2 nodes, that's just how it works. Sort of a weird in-between of StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2 if you think about it, because you mine from the geyser and the ridge, and they return different rates, and then you can upgrade the ridge to be like a geyser, and then you need tier 2 to upgrade your geyser to be even more than a geyser. Something that people have suggested a lot of the times, is we do have Kenoli moving out here with just 13 Izira cores, like a casual 13 Izira core with 7 more coming. Okay, 20 Izira core attack timing. People have suggested that, you know, while you're capping your ridges and your geysers, then you should also still be able to harvest from them. I think if I did allow that, it would still be at a reduced rate. I like the decision point. I like that there's room there. Now, speaking of room, I don't think there's actually that much room for all of these Izira cores inside Grass Eater's base. He's going straight for the run-by of all run-bys, and I think he can even kill this circuit. We do have a pair of 2 Calcs back at home. The Nats just move across, and of course anti-air is being set up. But all the workers have had to have been evacuated. The double circuit here to try to defend. Of course the Izira cores just run right past that. We've got 7 pairs of claws. We do have that nice little stutter. Actually, I fixed this on pre-release quite a little bit. The stutter is taken care of. The Calcs are going to need to fall back. I don't think they are going to, and it's just claws coming out. Could this actually end up being a blowout of a series? Kenoli showing his mastery of the matchup, perhaps. It's really, these have been silly, funny games, but the Sprates are done, the Nats get shut down. Izira cores have dropped every Droleth inside the natural. The unsmiley face comes out. Defeated, deflated, Grass Eater has been devoured. Kenoli moves on 3-0, 3-0 into the grand final. He will face Sausage, a Protoss player who narrowly was able to defeat Hanmano. I say narrowly, it was 3-1. It was still pretty solid match there. And so I am excited to see that match in action. Ladies and gentlemen, I was just about to tell you guys about our Discord server and how some guy named Zeth joined, and that's Zeth. That's pretty cool. But I don't think he's named himself after the Zethra core. I think it was probably happenstance. There was a unit that was named after a random YouTube chatter one time in a random live stream, and it's the Drakadin. That was his username, and I thought that's way better than Dragoon. Drakadin, because I was thinking about what to name the Dragoon. Anyway, that was cool. I never saw that guy again. He only existed so that I could take his name. I appreciate that very much. I hope he's existing on it by another pseudonym somewhere in the world. And I bid you all adieu for now. We will be seeing that grand final, Protoss versus Zerg action. One of them will qualify. Watch it tomorrow. GG.